In the 2020 presidential election polling average that I've created, Joe Biden was leading Donald Trump by 5.1 percentage points. Based on my popular vote margin and looking at the undecideds, the best case scenario for the former president Donald Trump would have been 311 electoral college votes to Joe Biden's 227 electoral college votes, losing the popular vote by 1.6%. And would have won in a decent landslide compared to Biden's best case scenario of about 350 electoral college votes to Donald Trump's 188 electoral college votes, winning all the swing states, including Georgia and North Carolina, with relative ease, making Iowa, Ohio, and Texas competitive, with Florida narrowly going to Joe Biden in his ultimate best case scenario. Today, in this video, we're going to be looking at the best case scenario using the same system for the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button to subscribe if you want more content just like this, and let's get right into the video. So, looking at Donald Trump's popular vote lead in the national environment right now, essentially I have a system that basically aggregates all the polling data using a target electorate to basically unskew any bias the polling would have and filters out any relative response bias that we would have gotten at any point in time. And so looking at the shift in the popular vote margin over time, we see that Donald Trump is currently leading the popular vote by 2.8%, and there's about 3.5% undecideds, the same amount that there is in my 2020 presidential election aggregate, which is fairly interesting. So, applying this undecided number to either person's popular vote share will provide us a picture of their best case scenario in the popular vote. And I'm here to tell you, if I were the Kamala Harris campaign, I would be extremely worried because basically, when you add the undecideds to this margin, you're only beating Donald Trump in the popular vote by 0.7%. I mean, it's not very impressive at all. It actually leads to an electoral college defeat, meaning that, spoiler alert, even in Kamala Harris's best case scenario, she wouldn't even beat Donald Trump in this video just because of how bad she's polling nationally. And so, starting out with the best case scenario for Kamala Harris, we'll go ahead and do that one first. It's about a tied popular vote. She's barely leading it, but she is in fact up. California would be in the safe category, as well as a state like, for example, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC. These would kind of be in that safe Democrat column in this video, as well as Hawaii and the state of New York. We can also look at other states, for example, like the states of Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, as well as the Dakotas, Nebraska at large, and the 1st and 3rd congressional districts, except the 2nd one, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Missouri, and West Virginia, as well as South Carolina in the completely safe Republican column as well, giving Donald Trump an inherent advantage in the Electoral College. Now, looking at the likely Republican states, we have the state of Alaska at about 14 points for Donald Trump. We also have the state of Iowa at about 14 points for the former president, about a 14.5-point victory in his worst case scenario, with Ohio being around a 13-point win in the Electoral College. Florida would be around a 7-point victory, almost an 8-point win in his worst case scenario, with Texas being around a 12-point win in the same scenario, with Maine's 2nd congressional district being a 14-point victory as of right now. At this point in time, Donald Trump is sitting with 219 electoral college votes in the safe and likely column, which puts him at a pretty good position to win the Electoral College as of right now. Looking at other states, we can also see the states of Washington and Oregon are in the likely Democrat column, as well as Colorado at an 11.3 percentage point margin. Well, May's 1st is actually in the safe column as well. Forgot to fill that out. But Illinois would also be, roughly give or take, in the likely Democrat column at 13.5 points for Kamala Harris. Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island would also be in the likely column, including a New Jersey at this point in time. And looking at a state like Virginia, that would still be in the likely column. Even in this scenario, it would still be in the likely column. So Donald Trump's going to have to do quite a bit in order to actually end up winning it as well. He's going to have to do quite a bit to actually end up winning the state of Virginia, because it is a pretty far left state, including New Mexico. So even that would be in the likely column. But you still have a couple states left up for grabs that shouldn't even be left up for Kamala Harris. Those include New Hampshire at 3 points, Maine at large coming in, roughly give or take at about the same margin. Looking at Minnesota, this is another 3-point victory for Harris. They're kind of all voting together in this model that I have right now in the election. Nebraska's second would also be an exact 2-point victory in this forecast in the best case scenario for Kamala Harris. That puts her at 226 electoral college votes. North Carolina is about a 4.3 percentage point win in this case. So, like Red Eagle Politics says, Donald Trump's floor is about a 4-point win. And that's actually what we polled last month, by the way. So that's fairly fascinating. Georgia coming in at about a 3-point victory, as well as Arizona at a 3.5-point win, with the state of Nevada coming in at 1.3 percentage points. And at this point, even in Kamala Harris's best case scenario, she isn't even winning any of the Sun Belt states. And all of the Rust Belt states go lean Republican, anywhere from about a 3-point win for Donald Trump in a state like Pennsylvania, a 4-point win in Wisconsin, to about roughly a 1-point win in the state of Michigan. And so right now, based on the popular vote margins that we have, Kamala Harris, based on all the undecideds, can only win the popular vote by 0.7% and will essentially lose the election with 226 electoral college votes to Donald Trump's 312 electoral college votes. Now, if Donald Trump were to pick up all of the undecideds from his already pretty decent popular vote lead of 2.8% and picked up the rest, he would actually be leading by 6.3 percentage points in the popular vote, which is roughly a little bit lower than what I had him doing against Joe Biden. And so in this scenario, you would have a pretty different feel. Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, except the 2nd Congressional District would be safe. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Alaska, Missouri, Iowa is now safe, as well as Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, West Virginia, and the state of Ohio would also be in this column, as well as South Carolina being in this column as well. We can also look at Maine's 2nd Congressional District to be in the safe Republican column. So in this scenario, Donald Trump's actually getting 189 safe electoral college votes, with the exception of Florida being just right below the safe column. Looking at California, only a 18-point win for Kamala Harris. Very, very bad performance there. A 73-point win for Kamala Harris in D.C., 22-point victories in Maryland, and a 23-point win in Massachusetts. And in Vermont, we're just coming in at roughly about 27 points for Kamala Harris, giving her only 81 safe electoral college votes. Looking at those likely Republican states, we have Florida at 14.9% for Donald Trump, Georgia at a 10-point victory for the former president, Arizona at a 10.7 percentage point win, North Carolina at about 11.3 percentage point victory in the Electoral College, the state of Nevada coming roughly in at about an 8-point win for Donald Trump, 8.3 percentage point win to be exact, an 11.2 percentage point victory in the state of Wisconsin for the former president, a 10.2 percentage point win in Pennsylvania, and in Michigan, we also end up having a plus 8.3 percentage point margin for the former president, including Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District at exactly a 5-point margin in this video in the best case scenario for Donald Trump. Now, looking for those likely Democrat states, we can go to Washington, a 7.8 percentage point victory for Kamala Harris, Oregon at just 5.7 percentage points for Kamala Harris. Illinois at 6.5 points for Kamala Harris. The state of New York coming in at just 6 points for Kamala Harris in her worst case scenario. Maine's first congressional district at about a 9-point victory for Kamala Harris. The state of Connecticut coming in at about 7.9 percentage points. Delaware at 6.7 percentage points. And then the state of Rhode Island, you would also have a 7.1 percentage point victory in her worst case scenario, with Hawaii being in the likely column at just about 12.9 percentage point win for Kamala Harris. Looking at these other states, they are now in the lean Democrat/lean Republican column or lower than that. The lean Republican states include Minnesota coming in at a massive win at 4 points for Trump, New Hampshire at 3.8 percentage points for the former president, as well as Maine at large at about 3.7 percentage points for Donald Trump, including the state of Virginia at 1.6 percentage points for the former president. Colorado is coming in roughly, give or take, as a 4.3 percentage point win for Kamala Harris. New Jersey as just a 4-point win on the mark for Kamala Harris. And the state of New Mexico, the closest state, comes in at a 1/4-point victory for the former president in this video. And so his best case scenario would be winning the popular vote by 6.5 percentage points, or 6.3 to be exact, and winning 347 electoral college votes to Donald Trump's 191 electoral college votes. Make sure to hit the like button to subscribe if you want more content just like this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to go ahead and go to betonline.com, where you can bet on the winner of the presidential election, as well as where the individual states are going to go, including the margins of how they're going to go, as well as swing state parlays, including the House Representative elections, which districts may even go certain directions, and the U.S. Senate margins as well.